2024 Summer Olympic Games just wrapped up in Paris last month, and we have one of Milwaukee's very own who was there not as an athlete, but as a licensed psychologist. Dr. Kweku Amoasi Smith joins us now. Thank you so much for being here, Doctor. Man.
Hey, it's great to be home.
How long were you over there?
Just a little under 3 weeks, from July 20th to August 8th. I left just a little bit before the closing ceremonies.
Okay, so what exactly was your role there while you were there, from the opening ceremonies to when you left?
Yeah, so my official role was mental health officer. For the USOPC, I worked there part-time as a psychological provider, where we provide individual, group counseling, team counseling, things with the staff, things of that nature. And so we just were brought over to work in a dual capacity, either to help the athletes from a performance standpoint, or if there were some other issues from a clinical standpoint that they needed major attention immediately.
Man, that's got to be an incredible experience. What'd you take from it?
Yeah, you know what? It was the experience of a lifetime. You know, when you first get the call that you're going to go, you're excited, but you don't really know what to expect. And I've had a chance to work in some kind of cool places and whatnot like that, but nothing I've ever done had me ready to be able to work on this international level.
So, yeah, you've worked with athletes. You just mentioned that.
Yeah.
So what made this experience unique, being on that international level?
Yeah, that was just it, because not only were we working with the athletes as mental health officers, we also were working with other mental health officers from different parts of the world. So you're learning in these cohorts, in these groups, with the experts from Germany, from Sweden, from Ghana, all of the places that you see on the map. These people are there, and you're learning their best secrets. We all have houses in the village. So you have Team USA, you have Turkey, you have Ghana, you have all these places, and you see in the inside, sometimes there's special places, you know, for the athletes to go, whether it's for recovery or things of that nature. But we had a special place specifically for mental health in our Athlete Resource Center, and we got to see how other countries did that. So being able to get that knowledge helps me better, not only for during the Olympics, but even post-Olympics.
So talk about the challenges that you saw from the athletes. What were they facing over there? I mean, it's got to be an astounding amount of pressure doing it for your country, doing it in front of the world.
Yeah, it's like nothing. What you said is the three. I got to do it for myself, I got to do it for my family, and then I got to do it for my country. And it's one thing, you said, well, you've been doing this your whole life, but you walk out, there's 80,000 people in the stadium. You walk out, it's 40,000, numbers that you've never seen before. And because it's like, you know, the old Eminem, you only got one shot. So everything you've been doing is based on this one time. One little hiccup can prevent a whole lifetime of dreams. So you talk about the pressures that the athletes have. It's that pressure to perform, but it's also that pressure to be able to enjoy the moment while they're in the moment before it's gone. And that's not always the easiest.
And then you add the element with all the black athletes that were over there too, from the United States, and even maybe those outside of the U.S. too. Yeah. I'm not sure how much you work with those.
And it's a dual capacity with that, because this is one of the things we say. Sometimes we complain about the USA as African Americans, and it is some things to complain about. But when we look at the resources that we have compared to some of the other athletes, you also realize, man, it's some blessings in some of the things that we have here. But with that being stated, athletes go through more than just athletic competition. We understand how social media can be a double-edged sword. It can be your best friend as a brand, but also you have those anonymous bullies. So now people are being bullied. Now people are given death threats for performing well or not performing well that they have to sit with. But from other countries, from African countries, from other small Caribbean countries, they might not have the mental health officer numbers that the U.S. have. So you say, how do they deal with all of those things?
So go back again. Talk about some of those things that you've learned from your experiences in dealing with these athletes, getting experience from other countries, seeing how they deal with mental health. What do you take from that, and how can you bring that here?
Yeah, from the International Olympic Committee, they bring all the people together, something kind of called like a safe sport, and where you just go about what are the best practices. So dealing with trauma, dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression, dealing with suicide. So we look and see what other people are doing across the countries. It's just like if you're a researcher and you're looking at journals, instead of just looking at America, you go over to the British journal, you go over to this journal from Japan, you go over from this journal, whatever country. So just being able to have that kind of brain power in one room to be able to ask questions at one time. And the pretty cool part about it was sort of like a UN. You had this little earpieces in, so if they weren't speaking in your language, you had a natural translator automatically.
Nice, nice, nice. And were there any specific challenges with specific sports? Are there any more challenges with one as opposed to another, like volleyball, basketball, swimming, anything like that? Or is it kind of just all one sport?
No, that's a great question, because what people will see is they see the Olympics, and that's the USOPC. But under that USOPC is an umbrella, what we call NGBs. Those are national governing bodies. So tennis is its own governing body, swimming, track, bowling, all of these things. And so now all NGBs aren't built the same. So you know gymnastics, you know swimming, you know track, they get the money. Now for some of those smaller NGBs, maybe like an archery, maybe like artistic gymnastics, they don't always have the money and the funding that some of these other people are doing. So that can become an issue for some of the athletes, just making sure they have all of the resources that they need.
We got a couple minutes left. I want you to talk a little bit about the fun you had. I see these pins you have here. Just talk about your quest in getting all of those.
No, and that's what we talk about, the international experience. Sometimes you say, well, how do I approach a person? How do I talk about a person? So each country gives you these pins from your own. And this is when you also recognize how much America is respected and loved across the world. These things became like currency. And so what you do is they say, oh, we want a pin. And when you would trade a pin, you would trade a story. You would trade, some kind of ingredient. And it was about what I think the Olympic spirit was about. How do we bring everybody together in competition? So instead of being in the art of war, we had the art of sport where you could do a prowess, but it was in a beautiful and a safe environment. And those pins just represents all of the different beautiful people and countries that we met.
If there's one thing that you took from this experience, what is that?
You know what, it's not one thing, and that's the one thing. It felt like one day. We always say, like, when time doesn't make sense to you, you say, man, this was so good, I can't believe it went this quick. We were there all those days, but it felt like one big day, and that's when I knew I was in the moment. You know how you drive in Milwaukee and you see Alan Bradley clocking, you're like, wow. Well, when we would drive back and forth, I see the Eiffel Tower, and I think that was the thing, is just like seeing some of these things as a little child that you always saw, wondering if I could ever get to it, having those dreams come true. So the thing that I got was, hey, keep dreaming, because you never know what's out there. The things that you think are not available to you, they're more than available to you. If I can do it from 5'3", 206", everybody can do it.
Amen to that. Anything else you want to share?
No, you know what? It's a pleasure to be back home. And like I said, I am grateful to be an American citizen, but I'm even more so committed to making sure America becomes the person who she said she was on the paper of our founding fathers.
All right, Dr. Smith, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, it's a pleasure, Earl.